Now let's solve 2sum part 2 input array sorted problem on LeetCode. This is similar to the first 2sum, but instead we need to return the indices of the positions where the two numbers within our numbers array add up to a certain given target, and also we need to increment these indices by 1 each index. As you know, in Java, indices usually start at 0, but in this problem they explicitly ask us, or they tell us, that we need to return added by 1 as integer array index 1 index 2 of length 2. So in example 1 we have these set of numbers with a target of 9. We notice that the number at position 0 and the number at position 1, when added up, give us our target of 9. So we have to return 1 and 2 because, like I said, they want us to increment the indices by 1. So elements at position 0 are now position 1, and elements at position 1 are now position 2. So the way we're going to solve this is we're going to use a map. So let's create our map first and foremost. So map integer to integer, we can call it map equals new hash map. So what are we storing in our map? As a key, we're storing the number which we're currently on as we iterate through the numbers array. And as an integer, or as the value, we're storing the index plus 1 where that number appears. So basically we'd put map.put 2, and then index would be its index, which is 0 plus 1. So I plus 1. Now the problem with maps in Java is that it does not store duplicates. So say we had two 2's in this array. So let's say we had 2, 7, 11, 15, 2. Once we get to the final 2, it's going to overwrite the initial 2 and give it the new index where it's currently at, which is going to cause us problems in the output. So instead of directly storing values and keys into the map as a first step, we're going to process a certain block of code, as you'll see in a moment, and then we can add our key value pair into the map. So let's go through it and we'll understand more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to iterate through the numbers in the numbers array. So for int I equals to 0, as long as I is less than numbers dot length I plus plus, we're going to create an int result which will be overwritten every time we iterate through the for loop. Now int result is going to be equal to target minus numbers at I. Now we're going to check if our map contains as a key this result. So if map dot contains key result, in that case we're going to return a new int array, and we're going to, within that array, we're going to give it the values of map.get result. So this will retrieve the value of the key result, and the second value in our array is going to be I plus 1, and then we need a semicolon here. Otherwise, if the map does not contain this result, then we're going to store the number which we're currently on as well as its index. So map.put numbers at I and I plus 1. So this is the fully functional code, and we'll go through it in a moment. But we do need to write a final return statement here, or otherwise LeetCode is going to interpret it as a missing return statement. So what we're going to do is we're going to return a new int array with size 2, which is going to be empty. But they guaranteed in the given that there is exactly one solution, so we're never going to reach this case. Okay, so let's go through example 1 very quickly. We have input numbers is equal to 2, 7, 11, 15 with a target of 9. We created our map, and now we're going to iterate through the numbers array. So int result is going to be equal to target, which is 9, minus numbers at 0. Numbers at 0 is 2. So 9 minus 2, that's 7. Does our map contain a key of 7? No, because initially it's empty. So we're going to skip this. And here we're going to put numbers at I, which is numbers at 0, which is 2. And as a value, we're going to put its index, which is 0, and add 1 to it. So now our map contains 2, and our key 2 has a value of 1. Then we're going to increment I in our for loop. So we process this statement again. Result is now equal to target minus numbers at I, which is numbers at 1, which is 7. 9 minus 7, that's 2. Does our map contain 2? Yes, it does. We just added it. So what are we going to do? We're going to return a new array that has 2 values. Map.getResult, which will retrieve the value of our key result. So it will retrieve the value of 2, which is 1. It's index 0 plus 1. And we're going to return the index which we're currently on, which is 1. And obviously we also need to increment it by 1. So that becomes 2. And if we take a look at our output, that's 1 and 2. So let's submit our code and see if it works. And there we go. So that was the 2-sum part 2 problem on LeetCode. I hope you found that video helpful, and thanks for watching.